Hi, Mark Gelfo. It's been a long day at Greenbuild. It's Thursday late afternoon, and I just finished what I think was the coolest session I've been to so far on connecting the cloud and data centers and your environmental footprint. So it was a very geeky, nerdy session, which is why I liked it so much. Didn't really deal with a lot about the footprint and the sustainability aspects of data centers in the cloud, but I'll talk about that in a second. Started off really talking about the internet itself. Most people think of the internet as this not a real physical place. It's some kind of an imaginary electronic place where transcendent ideas are shared. But really, the physical piece of the internet is the data centers and the clouds and the infrastructure that connects them are real physical places, real physical buildings that are connected to utility grids and other infrastructure. You've got glass tubes with pulses of light going through the ground that connect these data center buildings, and they're connected to utilities and use a lot of utilities, and how can we reduce that. Then they really talked a lot about the security and secretivity about data centers. The paradigm used to be that the first rule of data centers is don't talk about data centers, just like Fight Club, don't talk about Fight Club. But lately there's been a movement towards more transparency. These are the places that house all of our data, so they know everything about us, we should know a little bit about them. Gave some examples about Google and Facebook and their data centers and how secretive these places are, but maybe you're just starting to move towards being a little more open and a little more transparent. Talked about really the evolution of what a data center was. It started off, computers started off with just the desktop was where all your data was, and then you moved to server closets and then server rooms, and then co-location data centers. Hey, we don't need to house these things in our building. Let's share our servers and put them next to somebody else's servers in a building. And then that gave way to managed hosting data centers. We don't need to manage our servers. We can let somebody else hold and manage our data, and then move to big enterprise data centers like companies like Google and Facebook, where they have these big warehouse-sized buildings that have rows and rows and rows of racks that hold all of our data. Data centers are getting bigger and bigger, and they need to get better, and in this case, better means more efficient. The data centers account for about 2% of all of the U.S. electricity usage comes from data center, about 2%. That doesn't sound like a lot, but that's growing exponentially. Currently, data centers are the most rapidly growing portion of the electricity grid in the country. They talked about, worldwide, there's 7 billion people in the world. 80% of those people in the world have access to electricity. 75% have access to phones, but only 35% have access to the internet. So there's a lot of room to grow in the data market worldwide, and we need to be prepared for that, because we can't keep plugging away all of the power usage that goes into these data centers the way we have been. Data center energy usage is measured in something called PUEs, power usage effectiveness, and it hurts my head a little bit to think about this, but that's the ratio of how much energy goes into your data center, total energy in, divided by the amount of that energy that's used to power the IT servers and equipment itself. So it has a theoretical maximum efficiency of 1, and most data centers in the country, even the most efficient ones, have PUEs of 1.5 to 2, maybe even 2.5. So that means if your PUE is 2, that means for every 2 units of energy that are going into your building, only one of those is used for the actual infrastructure, actual servers themselves. The rest of it's going into heating and cooling, well, not usually heating, but cooling and airflow in those data centers. So clearly we can do better. Some of the examples they gave in the session were data centers that had PUEs of 1.1, which is obviously very efficient, or at least putting most of the energy into the actual servers and IT equipment itself. Like I said, I would have liked to have heard them talk a little bit more detail about some of the strategies and technologies they used to to get those efficiencies. But location is apparently a big one. There's a couple of big data centers. Google and Facebook's data centers are located in Oregon, and they do that to take advantage of the free cooling most of the time of the year. So we think of the HVAC and airflow having a huge impact on the efficiency of the data centers, and they certainly do. But the actual physical location of the data centers have actually the biggest impact on their overall sustainability. So, like I said, very cool session. Talked a lot about the internet, not so much about sustainability. It's tough to do justice in a little video like this, but you should have been there. Thanks.